that good science acknowledges when there is a worldview or belief system. That is so fundamental to good science. Biblical creation is good science because it fully acknowledges a belief system involving faith in the Bible. It's very difficult to hide that. If you believe in biblical creation, you can't hide that it's a biblical worldview. And scientists like Newton and Faraday, they fully acknowledge their faith in a creator. But evolution is poor science because it does not acknowledge that belief system involving faith in atheism. And if you look at Dawkins and Nye, they do not acknowledge their faith. If you saw the Ham-Nye debates, Bill Nye did not acknowledge his faith in evolution. Here is the claim that evolution is a fact. To Richard Dawkins, it is so important to him to portray evolution as a fact. So you have these quotes: evolution is a fact, beyond reasonable doubt, beyond serious doubt, beyond sane, informed, intelligent doubt. You see how important it is to him that people see evolution as a fact. And then he says, no qualified scientist doubts that evolution is a fact. You see how important that is to Richard Dawkins. But the reality is different. Evolution is an atheistic belief system with assumptions. There is no proof or solid evidence for evolution, and many scientists reject evolution despite what Dawkins claims. Let's go through those 3 points. Firstly, evolution is an atheistic belief system with assumptions. Here's a famous quote from Sir Julian Huxley from 1942. He said this: modern science must rule out special creation. And there you have it, an assumption. What he should have said is modern science should be open-minded. But he didn't say that. He said modern science must be closed-minded. It must rule out special creation. And here's another quote from Dr. Scott Todd that explains a similar thing. He said this: even if all the data point to an intelligent designer, such an hypothesis is excluded from science because it is not naturalistic. Notice he didn't say modern science should be open to all the evidence. He didn't say that. He said we've got to ignore evidence for a creator. And so here you see proof that evolution is a worldview with its own assumptions or presuppositions. So here you can see so clearly evolution has a rule out God agenda, and it is therefore a world view. But secondly, there is no proof or solid evidence for evolution. You may have heard of Richard Dawkins' book, The Greatest Show on Earth. When this came out in 2009, there was great excitement amongst atheists, because if you look at the bottom of that book, it has this subtitle, The Evidence for Evolution. Now, Richard Dawkins, all his previous books had not a shred of evidence for evolution, so people were very excited when this book came out. At long last, we might have some evidence for evolution. If you open that book up, you open the book, and this is one of the things you read. We have no evidence about what the first step in making life was. When my youngest son read that, he said, "Daddy, there seems to be a contradiction between the subtitle of the book and the contents of the book. Shouldn't we be asking for our money back for this book?" If I was an atheist, I would feel very deflated at reading that, having read the subtitle of the book. So evolution is clearly not a scientific fact. It has no proof or solid evidence. And thirdly, many scientists reject the theory of evolution, including some of the greatest scientists that have ever lived. You know, Dawkins says no qualified scientist rejects evolution. James Clerk Maxwell was an incredible scientist. He was the father of modern physics. And he said this: no theory of evolution can be formed to account for the similarity of molecules. He rejected evolution. And Lord Kelvin, the father of thermodynamics, another very famous, a great scientist, he said this: scientific thought is compelled to accept the idea of creative power. He rejected the theory of evolution. And there are thousands of modern-day scientists who reject the theory of evolution. So you see, evolution is a worldview. It is a belief system. So biblical creation is good science. It acknowledges its worldview.